Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday from Sight and Sound Technology, our monthly get together on the first Wednesday of the month. We're delighted to be back with you again. My name is Stuart Lawler, and my colleague Sharon Lyons is with me today, and we're delighted to be back. And this month, tackling something that everybody's been talking about for the last year and a half, or maybe more if you've been exploring this area, and that's AI, or artificial intelligence, and talking about how it interacts with screen reading technology. In this case, we'll be exploring JAWS, but also I think talking about AI more broadly and its potential for the visually impaired community, and how it can potentially make the world a more accessible place. So we're going to look at AI as broadly as we can. I certainly don't have all the knowledge on AI. I can only talk about what I have used and how I have used AI, both in my work and personal life, and how I continue to do so. And we really want to hear from you today. Um, I think it would be really interesting to get feedback from our audience and to share, I suppose, tips and best practice. And I do want to say as well that this session came out of a suggestion I got at Sight Village Glasgow a couple of weeks ago. I'd been thinking about it for a while, and then somebody came to our stand and was talking to me about AI and said, "Why don't you do a webinar about it?" So this person may be on the call, they know who they are, but I want to thank them because it prompted me to go off and do a bit of work and prepare something today to talk a little bit and show you some functions of AI and how they can be used. And some of this stuff, of course, is changing very quickly. So I do also want to say that if you happen to be watching back on the recording of this 6 months later, not all of this may be valid. Um, so try out the tools and try out the things that we're going to talk about today. And as they say, mileage may vary. I did mention that Sharon is with us today and is monitoring chat. So if you'd like to
Mhm.
chat to us today, you can press Alt and H if you're on Windows. You can press Option on H if you're on a Mac, or you can activate the chat button from your app of choice if you're joining us on a mobile platform. Put your message in chat. Sharon will get to the chat messages as we go along. And you can also raise your virtual hand and talk to us. That's on Windows, it is Alt and Y. On the Mac, it's Option and Y, or on your mobile platform of choice, you can press the raise hand button. And as always, we'll try and do this within the hour. So I'm sure there will be people who want to ask questions or make comments. So we do ask you, in the interest of making sure that everybody gets a chance to have their voice heard, please keep your contribution as brief as you can. Okay, so we're going to talk about AI, or artificial intelligence. And when I was preparing this session, I was thinking about sort of the first time I read about ChatGPT, which was, I think, the first time most of us really started hearing about AI and, the potential, and reading things like, it will write an essay for you. It'll write a 5,000 word essay for you, and all these amazing things it was going to do. And then I think when the noise died down and we started hearing about things that AI could do that would really benefit the community. So for things like, for example, picture descriptions, or to be able to very quickly look up information on specific things. And I think a lot of us now are probably using AI over doing something like, say, a Google search, because it is definitely faster to get the information that way. So I've broken this session into two distinct parts, I suppose. The first part is where we'll explore JAWS and the AI functions that are built into JAWS. And the second part is where we'll explore AI a little more generally. And for most of that, I will be using Copilot. And I'm using Copilot because that is what we use primarily here at Sight and Sound Technology. You can use other platforms. I mean, some people are using ChatGPT, some are using Gemini, there's Claude, there's lots of others. And my experience of kind of playing with some of these is that they all sort of do the same thing, and they all can make mistakes. but it's more about knowing how to prompt them and how to use them and what you want to get from them. So we'll start with the JAWS piece, talk a little bit about how JAWS is implementing AI, and then we will move on to Copilot. And as I say, put your questions or comments in chat, and we'll go back to Sharon maybe at the end of the first piece to see if there's anything that we want to address. And equally, you can raise your hand, and we'll get to questions for raised hands at the end of the entire presentation. So I'm going to share my screen and my audio. So please bear with me.
Toolbar parent WND.
And hopefully everybody's hearing JAWS.
Yeah, I can hear that, Graham. Stuart.
Thank you, Sharon, for confirming. So I have a folder on my computer here that I have very originally named
Stuff-File Explorer.
Stuff. I'm just going to maximize that.
Restore on of leaving menus.
So this is a folder called Stuff, and there's a few things in here. There's a couple of photographs, and there's some other documents that we're going to use a little bit later on. Since JAWS 2023, there is a feature built in called Picture Smart. It actually existed before JAWS 2023 as well, but it was a very different feature which used a very, I suppose, basic method of giving you a sense of what was in a picture. It didn't give you a description that would be very detailed. And since AI has come along, and ChatGPT in particular, because that's what JAWS is using, JAWS uses two AI services. One is ChatGPT and one is Claude to use Picture Smart. So for anyone who doesn't know, Picture Smart is a way that you can send pictures or inaccessible content, let's say, to JAWS, and it will go out to one of these AI services and give you back a description. I'm going to demonstrate it today in File Explorer, but you can also use it on the web. So for example, if you're on a website and you're shopping for something, and the example I've used recently I was looking at washing machines, and there is a photograph of the washing machine on the website. You can ask JAWS to give you a description of the photograph, but then you can go off and ask something like, does this washing machine have tactile buttons or is it touchscreen? So those things can be really helpful. One of the phrases people will hear when they talk about AI sometimes is the word hallucination. AI has a tendency to hallucinate. In other words, it kind of makes things up, or it gives you information that's incorrect. And we've all probably experienced this. And if you query that, it'll say something like, my apologies, my mistake, and then tells you something else. And I suppose I do want to say that because AI is not always correct, and just be aware of that before you start using it. There are various ways that we can use Picture Smart. As I said, for the purposes of the demo today, I'm using it from File Explorer, but I will go through all the shortcut keys that are available in Picture Smart so that you know how to use them in various different contexts. You use Picture Smart by using the JAWS layered command. So that is the JAWS key, whatever your JAWS key is, depending on the keyboard layout that you're using. The JAWS key with the spacebar, followed by the letter P for Picture Smart. And then after that, you can use a variety of different keys based on where you are or what you want to do. So if you want to get a description of a picture that's on a scanner or that's under a camera, you will press JAWS key with space, followed by P, followed by the letter A for acquire. Now, really good example of this. I still have, would you believe, a flatbed scanner under my desk. I have one of these scanner printer combos. And every few nights I check my post. Probably don't do it as regularly as I should, but I come up with all the post and I start opening it and put it on the flatbed scanner. Instead of scanning the post and getting JAWS to read it, I ask JAWS to use Picture Smart to give me a sort of an overview of what the post is, what the letter is. And then if it's something important, I will scan it in the old-fashioned way. So that's where I find Picture Smart useful for a scanner or camera. If you want to get a description of the current control, so a control in this case would be maybe you're on the Amazon website and you're looking at washing machines and your cursor is on the image or a graphic showing a photograph of the washing machine. You will press the JAWS key with space, followed by P, followed by the letter C for control. If you want to get a description of a file and you're in File Explorer, once you've highlighted the file, you'll press JAWS key with space followed by P and the letter F for file, and we're going to use that in a sec. If you want to get a description of the screen, you will press JAWS key with space followed by P and the letter S for screen. And if you want to get a description of the current window, and not the entire screen, but just the window in focus, you will press JAWS key with space, followed by P, followed by W. It's also really important to say that you need to make sure that your windows are maximized for best results. So lots of keystrokes there. How do you remember them all? And what happens if you forget them? Well, if you forget them, don't worry. JAWS key with space, followed by P, followed by Enter. Then JAWS will make a decision based on the best possible way to analyze the picture in question. So if you're in File Explorer, it's clever enough to know it uses the file option. If you're on a graphic on the website, it will do its thing there. So you can press enter, and there is context help built into this as well. You can do JAWS key with space, followed by P, followed by question mark. Right, I've thrown a load of keystrokes at you. So let's explore this a little bit and see how it works, because there's a couple of ways we can look at these photographs. So I'm in my stuff folder.
Earlier this year, today expanded. Annual underline. Bill underline. A long time ago expanded. A long time. Stuart Lawler headshot 2016.
So here's a file that is actually a picture that it's a sort of one of these, a picture I got done a long time ago for something. And I use it on all my social media and stuff. So I look about 10 years younger than I am. So let's get a description of it. So the first thing I'm going to do is press JAWS key with space, and you'll hear the little clicking sound. Then P for Picture Smart.
Picture Smart.
And F for file.
Picture Smart is in progress, period.
And currently the Picture Smart is in progress. You hear a little clicking sound to show that something is happening.
The image shows a portrait of a man with short, light brown hair and fair skin, period. He is wearing a light colored shirt and a purple tie, and he has a slight smile on his face, period. The background is a plain, light color, period. Link ask questions about this image.
So that's the description of the picture. That's the initial description. Then there's a link that says ask questions about this image, and there's another link.
Link get more details.
Get more details. Now, when you press enter here, it will send the photo out again, but this time it will send it to both chat, to the two services, to the two AI services, and we'll give a description back from each AI service. So let's just do that to see what they tell us.
Get more details link. Picture Smart is in progress, period.
So it's going off, it's analyzing the image again. And
heading level 2 ChatGPT. This image shows a man with short light brown hair, period. He is wearing a white dress shirt and a purple tie with a square pattern, period. His facial expression appears to be relaxed, with a slight smile, period. The background is plain and light colored, enhancing the focus on the person, period. Heading level 2 Claude.
So that was ChatGPT giving its description. Here's the description from Claude, the other AI system.
This is a professional headshot photograph of a middle-aged man with light blonde/gray hair against a plain white background, period. He is wearing a white dress, shirt and a purple patterned tie, period. He has a friendly, slight smile and blue-green eyes, period. The photo appears to be taken in a studio setting with professional lighting, period. He is dressed in typical business attire and the image has the look of a corporate or professional profile picture, period. Link ask ChatGPT questions about this image.
Okay, so I definitely think the second description from Claude was much better. It was much more accurate. It was a professional picture. It was taken for a previous job I had done. We were told to dress for the photo, and I think Claude got it dead right. But then you have a link here that says,
Link ask ChatGPT questions about this image.
so we can ask ChatGPT questions about the
Link give
image.
feedback. Link
So I'm going to press enter.
type a question, edit.
And I'm going to type a question. I'll say, is there anything else in this photo that is worth
AROW.
telling me about?
Is there anything else in this photo that is worth telling me about? Question.
And it might pick up something else. Let's press enter and see what
Is
happens.
there anything else in this photo that is worth telling me about? Question. The image is a straightforward portrait with no other notable elements or details in the background. Period. The focus is solely on the man apostrophe s face and attire. Period.
Okay. So there's an example of just, a description of a picture. There's a couple of other things we could have done there, by the way, and I don't want to overwhelm everybody with loads of keystrokes, but if I had done JAWS key space followed by P and then added the Alt key to the F, so in other words, held down Alt and pressed F, I could have asked JAWS a question in advance of the picture being sent to the AI service. So actually, let me just demonstrate this for you really quickly.
Stuart Lawler head.
So I'm going to go back to the headshot. I'm going to do JAWS key with space, P.
Picture smart.
This time I'm pressing Alt and F, not just
JAWS
F.
version 2025.2505.43. Ask a question about the image: edit. Picture smart dialog. Ask a question about the image: Ask a question about the image: edit.
Okay, JAWS is a bit verbose there, but it's saying ask a question about the image. So I'm going to say, tell me how old you think the person is in this image, and I'll press enter.
Stuff-file explorer. Items view multi-select list box. A long time ago expanded.
So
I apostrophe M sorry, comma, but I can apostrophe T determine the age of the person in the image. Period.
JAWS is very diplomatic.
Link ask.
Okay. I think it did reference a middle-aged man earlier on. So that's probably accurate. It was accurate 10 years ago. Anyway, that's the Picture Smart using a photograph, and you can do all that if you're on the web. You could do it, for example, if you're in a screenshot. Sometimes people may receive screenshots in emails. So somebody might say, please see below, and in previous times you would have just heard the word graphic. Now, if you put your cursor on that graphic and use the JAWS keystrokes, you can do that. Let's look at another picture.
Stuart car.
I was looking at this the other day. This picture was taken 20 years ago when I went on holidays with a couple of friends of mine, and we had hired I think it was a sports car, and said sit in the driver's seat, and someone took a picture of me. So let's see what we get from this. This time I'm going to press the JAWS key with spacebar followed by P, and I'm going to then press Shift and F. So I'm not just pressing F, I'm pressing Shift and F. And what that's going to do is it's going to send this picture to both AI services and give me the detailed feedback that we got the last time when we pressed enter on give more details. So it's just, again, a quicker way to do this. So JAWS key with space, followed by P,
Picture smart,
followed by Shift and F.
Picture smart is in progress. Period.
And we let it do its thing, and it will come back to us.
Link give feedback about this feature. Heading level 2 ChatGPT. The image shows a man sitting inside a silver Suzuki Vitara vehicle. Period. The car apostrophe S roof is open, comma, allowing sunlight to illuminate the interior. Period. The man is seated in the driver apostrophe S seat wearing a blue T-dash shirt and is holding the steering wheel. Period. The driver apostrophe S side window is down, comma, and there apostrophe S a spare tire mounted on the rear of the vehicle. Period. A sticker is visible on the top corner of the car apostrophe S windshield on the passenger side. Period. The environment outside appears to be a street or road, comma, with some vehicles partially visible in the background. Period.
Okay, so that's ChatGPT.
Heading level 2 Claude. This image shows a silver Suzuki Vitara compact sub/vehicle period. The photo is taken from an angle showing the driver apostrophe S side of the vehicle period. The driver apostrophe S door is open, comma, and there is someone sitting in the driver apostrophe S seat wearing a light blue T-dash shirt period. The vehicle appears to be parked in what looks like a parking lot or shaded area period. The car has light dash colored left pair and possibly beige or cream right pair and interior seats and appears to be in good condition period. On the side of the vehicle period, the windshield has what appears to be a sticker or permit in the corner period.
Okay, so you get the idea there that we were able to get the detailed feedback from both AI services without having to press enter on show more. And then we could do the same thing here. We could ask questions about this image. And I should also say that when we get this feedback from JAWS, however you choose to do Picture Smart, or rather wherever you do it, this feedback is in the virtual viewer. You can use this in the same way as you would always with the virtual viewer. You can copy the text somewhere else, but once you press escape,
Stu and Car 5 of
you're brought back to your, in this case, File Explorer. The virtual viewer is gone and that text is gone. Okay, this might be a good place to pause in case there's anything in chat that Sharon wants to refer to. There may not be, but just in case there is, Sharon.
There's lots of people praising Picture Smart.
Right.
Martin saying he uses it to describe images on web pages exactly as you were talking about there. I guess it's
Yeah.
wonderful, he says. And Jackie was saying she uses it quite often on Amazon, where she can get information about colors and other aspects that aren't in the written blurb. It's got to be one of the best JAWS features
Yeah.
in recent years, she says. And Callum says that he recently used it to buy a greeting card for his wife's
Oh,
birthday.
wow.
And normally he wouldn't buy a card unless he was with someone, but he used Picture Smart to help him. And it arrived in the post today, so we'll see.
Well, I hope your wife likes her birthday card. It's really
Fingers
interesting.
crossed. You can.
Yeah, I use it, and sometimes it's the simple things, and I think this is why, and I think Jackie is right. One of the most exciting features in JAWS for a long time. Um, we have a WhatsApp group for our family, and inevitably photographs get put in, and
Yeah.
people just forget to put a description in. Mostly they will, but sometimes people just forget, and you don't want to be keeping on going saying what was that. And it's just lovely to get the description, and I think you feel much more included because then you can send a comment back and go, oh, nice photo, or seems great where you
Mhm.
are. So they're the great things I think about AI. So
Yes, and we have some questions as well,
uh,
Stuart. Sorry.
okay.
I'm just checking here. So, oh, and also Jeff asked if we could have a crib sheet with all these keyboard shortcuts but I found something on the Freedom Scientific website with pretty much all of them listed. So I've put a link in the chat to that, but it just basically looked up JAWS Picture Smart keystrokes and it brought me to that link. I think it has everything on it apart from the Alt F, which may be new, Stuart. I don't know if
Some of
that's
those
very
are new,
new.
yeah, and I'm not sure
Yeah.
how often they update the documentation. If anyone is
Hmm.
stuck for a keystroke, uh, JAWS key space with P followed by question mark. All
Question
those
mark. Yep.
keystrokes will be listed that I have just mentioned, or just drop us an email. We're always happy
Yep.
to help.
Yep. Um, Now, when I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, was asking how well could it describe a technical diagram and could it draw technical diagrams? I don't know about drawing it, but
Yes, and I know that because UN had sent me the query earlier
mm,
on, and we had to. I got your second diagram, UN. I haven't had time to look at it since, but I know we had an issue with the first one. Um, I don't know is the answer. I am going to look into that though after this session.
Oh, I'd be
Jaws pic.
interested in looking at that as well, Stuart. If you
Yeah, I can. I mean, Jaws Picture Smart can't draw. It can't create those things, but
yeah, yeah,
um, maybe Copilot could do that, or Chat
possibly.
GPT or whatever you're using. Um, I know I just for fun the other week, I asked Copilot, there was a picture in a WhatsApp group and I took it out and asked it to change me to make me younger. And somebody looked at it and said it didn't at all look like me. So I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it's just me.
Um, Duncan asks, can Picture Smart describe images in Word documents and PDF files? Yeah, that would
Uh,
be your control
yes,
one,
it can.
probably.
Yeah, once you have the cursor on the control. So again, in Word, you might hear graphic, and then
Hmm.
JAWS key space with P and followed by C will do the control. I do find though, and again, it's just important to say you just need to make sure that the application is maximized so that it will work.
Hmm. Hmm. And Tim also adds that it's worth noting that Claude claims to use a more ethical approach to building its large language model, so the where it gets its information from
Oh,
is
really?
yeah, that's interesting.
Did not know that. Yeah, certainly I just found the description Claude gave for the first picture to be much more accurate and yeah, certainly I preferred it.
And Nicola says that she uses WhatsApp on her phone. How can she get it on a laptop? You can just install WhatsApp on your laptop and then use JAWS with it. Do you use JAWS with WhatsApp on the
Yeah,
laptop,
I
Stuart?
leave
Yeah.
WhatsApp open all the
Yeah,
time because I
I
use it for
find it
work
much
as
handier.
well.
Hmm.
And I find with WhatsApp, so you can get WhatsApp you can get WhatsApp from
From the
the Microsoft
Microsoft
Store,
Store. Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
just have to sync your phone. I mean, maybe that's another session for a webinar Wednesday. We'll put it add it to the list. But yeah, definitely it's really good.
You
I
can
just
get
wanted to,
Telegram as well, actually,
you can, you
on your
can.
desktop. Yeah, it's handy.
I just wanted to make a point though, and it's
Mhm.
something that Sharon and I talk about a lot. Some of the work we do here in Ireland in particular is around accessibility for companies. And we talk a lot about digital accessibility and creating content accessibly. And one of we've seen there how powerful AI is, and there's no doubt, it's great if you're going on to the Amazon website and you want to know something about a product. I'm always just very careful when I'm talking to people about AI to say it's not a silver bullet and it should not be seen as a replacement or a get out of jail card for developers not to use alt text or to, take shortcuts in developing because they might think, well, you know, screen reader users can use AI. Not all screen reader users can use AI, of course, we know that.
Hmm.
So I think, I suppose the point I'm making is we have to always continue to advocate for the accessibility stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not always right.
It is not always right, no. And if you query it, it sort of immediately apologizes and says, my mistake. So yeah. And this stuff is evolving. As we said at the beginning, you can watch this back in 3 months' time, and it might be very different. And we might end up doing another session about AI before the end of the year. Who knows?
Possibly. Hmm.
And I think the other thing worth noting about, and this is something that I'm sort of fine-tuning myself in my use of AI, is a lot of it is to do with how you prompt AI, how you ask it to do something, and how specific you are. And then that
Hmm.
will determine the quality of the response you get back.
Yeah, it's like search engines, isn't it? The more information you give it, the better the results.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Is there any other questions you want to flag, Sharon? Are
I
you
think that's all for now. Yeah.
okay? So we've kind of done the first part of our exploration. The second part is the more general one. And for this, I'm using Copilot, but I think a lot of this you will be able to apply to other AI services. If you have a specific question about a service, please let us know, drop us an email or put it in the chat. If we can't answer it today, I'll do my best to follow up with you in the next little while. But as I say, I'm using Copilot because that's the one we use most in Sight and Sound. And when it comes to Copilot, it's worth mentioning that there are sort of two flavors. There's the Copilot that's built into Microsoft Office 365 Professional, I suppose. And that's also built into Microsoft Teams if you have the appropriate license. That's the one I'm going to use in a minute. But there's also the Copilot, I suppose the ordinary Copilot, which is a Windows app. It's also on the mobile platforms, and that is the Copilot that is used sort of by everybody. And that is the one that you can type to it or you can talk to it and you can upload files. So when we talk about Copilot, there's two variants, but they're kind of doing the same thing. The one thing you will find about Copilot is the apps feel sometimes a little clunky. They're kind of half app, half web-based. So they're not unlike Teams, and they're changing frequently. So something I tell you today may not be valid tomorrow. And the way I use Copilot, day to day is through Microsoft Teams, and I'll show you how I do that in a second. So let me just go to Teams for a minute.
Screen share, Zoom, work, calls, vertical bar, Sight and Sound tech.
So I'm in Microsoft Teams, and I'm actually in the calls area of Teams at the moment because that's where I was the last time I used it. I'm going to go back to my list of applications.
Tab, history, calls, opens, view, personal, apps, navigation region, Copilot toggle button.
And this is my list of apps. So for example, and everybody's might be slightly different, but there's, this is where you have calendar and chats and files and calls, etc. So
calls toggle, Copilot toggle button.
This is the Copilot button. Now, if I pressed enter here, it would open Copilot for me. But what I normally do is I actually open Copilot in its own window, because then I can go back to Teams and use it for other things and keep Copilot open during the day. So I'm going to press Shift and F10.
Open a new window, 1 of 6.
And I'm going to press enter.
Leaving menus, Microsoft Teams, Copilot vertical bar, Sight and Sound Technology Limited vertical bar, Stuart.Lawler@sitansound.co.uk vertical bar, Microsoft Teams dash web content dash profile 2 page, Copilot frame, message, Copilot edit combo.
It's very chatty sometimes, and you'll hear a lot of chatter. Sometimes JAWS can be a bit verbose.
Blank.
But I'm in an edit box where I can message Copilot, and I can type anything in here to Copilot. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give it a document that I wanted to analyze. So let me do this.
Add content and agents button menu.
Add content and agents. It's worth just mentioning agents. You'll hear a lot, in particular with Copilot, they have these agents, and there are different types of agents. So an agent is like a virtual assistant with particular expertise. So you can have an agent, for example, that will help you with coding, or an agent that will help you with writing, or an agent that will help you with with processing numbers, for example, with spreadsheets. And you can get agents to do specific tasks. I haven't really explored that yet, so I'm just going to add content here.
Add content and agents menu. Upload from this device, 1 of 3.
And that's the option I'm going to pick. Upload from this device. I'm going to press enter.
File leaving menus. Open dialog.
And it's bringing me into the traditional open dialog.
Today equitable today. Equitable annual underline accounts. HDF.
And I'm going to go to a folder called stuff.
Stuff.
And press enter.
Equitable education report final and fully accessible.
So here's a large PDF file that is about equitable education in Ireland. It was something that was published a couple of years ago. It is actually a fully accessible PDF file, but there's 30 or 40 odd pages, so it would take us a while to read it. It might be interesting to get some stats from this report. So let's upload it and see what we can find out.
Equitable education report final and fully.
I'm going to press enter here to upload it.
Copilot vertical bar, Sight and Sound Technology Limited vertical bar, Stuart.Lawler@sitansound.co.uk vertical bar, Microsoft Teams web content profile 2 page, Copilot frame, message, Copilot edit combo. Edit field. Equitable-education-report-final-and-fully-accessible.pdf. Uploading from device will send a copy to OneDrive for business period. Manage uploaded files period. Equitable-education.
Okay, there's a lot of chatter there, but it was just telling me that the file was also going to be shared in OneDrive, or was going to be put in OneDrive so Copilot could get access to it.
Add content and date. Message Copilot edit combo. Equitable-education.
And it has now uploaded the file. So I'm going to press enter to send the
message
file
Copilot.
to
Loading
Copilot.
Generating response.
I think it's going to tell me what I uploaded, but we'll see what it comes back with. So it's taken the PDF file, and because it's quite a large file, it may
The
be...
document U apostrophe V uploaded, comma, titled, quote, Equitable Education, colon, Challenges for Children and Young People who are blind or vision impaired across the education system in Ireland, quote, comma, is a comprehensive report by the National Council for the Blind of Ireland, left parent NCBI right parent, period. It outlines the systemic barriers faced by students with vision impairments and provides detailed recommendations for improving educational equity, period. Pushpin key highlights from the report, colon, 1, period. Core challenges identified, bullet, delayed access to accessible learning materials, left.
Okay, it actually did give me there a really nice summary of the report. I was about to ask it what were the recommendations, and it had done that already. I don't know if this information is in the report, but let's ask it anyway. How many families participated in the report?
Speech on demand.
I'm turning off my JAWS for a sec because it is a bit verbose here. How many families participated in the report?
Full speed. How many families participated in the report? Question. Message Copilot. Generating response. Loading ... Generating response. Generating response. A total of 38 people participated in the focus groups conducted for the report, period. These included staff, comma, parents, comma, and young people, comma, as mentioned in the methodology section of the document. Would you like a breakdown of the participant types? Left parent E.G, period, comma. How many were parents? VS, period. Young people right parent, comma, or help. Visualizing the methodology and findings. Question. A total of 38 people.
Now, I think that's just incredible. It would take, if I was to try to find that information, I'd have to skim the PDF. You can see how, if you need help in summarizing documents, or you just need to get information quickly, this can be really helpful. So I'm just going to say,
speech on demand.
List in brief the key outcomes, the key recommendations from the report.
Full LST in brief, comma, the key recommendations from the report, period. Miss S. List. Message Copilot. Generating response.
And again,
Loading ...
it's going off to generate its response.
Generating response.
And we'll see what it comes back with.
Key recommendations. Here apostrophe S, a brief summary of the key recommendations from the Equitable Education Report, colon, key recommendations, 1, period. Data and evidence. Bullet. Establish a national database on accessible schoolbooks and learning materials, period. Bullet. Improve data collection on prevalence and educational outcomes for students with vision impairment. 2, period. Access to learning. Bullet. Ensure timely delivery of accessible curriculum materials, period. Bullet. Review race left parent reasonable accommodations.
Okay. So you can get the idea where uploading a document and asking questions, if you know the type of information you want from it, can be really useful. Now, it's also worth saying I could upload a picture using Copilot in Teams as well. And if I did that, I would always put in my prompt rather than saying, describe the picture, because Copilot will assume that you can see, so it won't give very detailed descriptions. So I might say something like, I am blind. Please describe this picture in great detail. So you can do that as well as using Picture Smart. And it's always interesting to compare the Picture Smart version to the Copilot version, or if you used, Google Gemini, for example, which is another service, you could do that as well. Okay, let's tab along here because I just want to do one more thing before we go to questions.
Add close cut review. Copilot Analysts Toolbar, Researchers Toolbar, Visual
I'm
Create
just going to create a new conversation.
Tool, Decisions Tool, Equid Toolbar 2, Train Toolbar, Overview of Copilot Pro Tool, Drafting Volun Tool, See More button, Commercial Data Pro, Enter Pro, Work Talk Web Talk, New Chat button,
So there's a new chat button.
Message Copilot Edit combo expanded.
And I did that because we were in the chat about the Equitable Education report. I just like to keep the chats separate, and I think it's better for the AI tool as well. I remember always reading that with ChatGPT. They always say kind of create a new instance, I think they call them, or a new session. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to go back into my add content.
Add content and agents.
Going to hit my space bar.
Add content and agents menu. Upload.
Upload.
File leaving menu.
And I'm going to
the annual earlier bill underline 4038.
So here's a mobile phone bill. I'm going to press enter.
Copilot vertical bar side.
Bill and we know it's going to do a bit of chattering here, and I'm going to press enter again.
Message Copilot loading ... generating response. And
it's going to give us a bit of an overview of the bill that we have just uploaded. And then we can also
16.56, 123.80, page facing up bill summary 16.56, antenna with bars usage highlights. The document U' V uploaded as a detailed mobile services bill from 3 Ireland for account number 4038164993, covering the billing period up to 26 December 2024 period. Here S a summary of the key information : page facing up bill summary bullet bill date : 27 December. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. There's loads of information it gives. I just want to know what is the total owing on the bill. So I'm just going to type that in. What is the total due on the bill? Full speed. Message Copilot loading ... generating response. The total due on the bill is €152.27, which includes VAT period. This amount will be collected via direct debit by 27 January 2025 period. Okay, so now I could have also asked things like what was the, because this is obviously, it said itself, it's a detailed bill. What was the longest call on the bill? To what number was it made? I could have asked it to break down those charges a bit more, €152, break it down a bit more for me. So that kind of stuff I find really useful. The other thing I use Copilot for a bit is spreadsheets. So if I get a spreadsheet with a lot of figures, because I do find I struggle with that, I find it hard to kind of comprehend those things sometimes, especially when using a screen reader where there might be lots of blanks in an Excel sheet. I will upload it to Copilot and I will ask it some questions, and I find I get a really good overview of the spreadsheet. It's like having somebody sitting beside you, giving you a sense of the spreadsheet. Now, there's loads more things we probably could have talked about. One thing I do want to mention that I just got access to last night when I updated my Google Gemini app was this live video or live vision, I think some people are calling it. So the fact that it streams video from your device. So you can be, standing maybe, I don't know, you could be standing at your cooker, setting the temperature, or you could be standing at your washing machine and ask it, what is the best setting for cottons? And it will say, you need to turn the dial 3 times. And then you could say to it, have I got it at the right setting? And it's watching in real time. Really incredible stuff. And as that technology becomes, more fine-tuned, it's going to be really interesting. Some people may have seen a video that was put out last year by the service Be My Eyes, where there's a guy, walking around London, and he's using this live video idea, and he ends up getting a taxi, and the AI is telling him when the taxi is approaching. So really exciting stuff, I think, that we have to look forward to with AI. Once we never forget its limitations, I think is really important. Okay. Stuff -5 JAWS screen sharing meeting. I think I will turn off my screen share. And Sharon, I don't know if you've any further chats you want to draw our attention to.
No, we've finished all the questions on chat there. There's a hand raised though.
There is a hand raised. I see Barry. So Barry, you should be able to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question.
No, Stuart. Hi.
Hi, Barry.
Hi.
Hi, Barry.
You just talked about Gemini Live, and I just used it earlier today actually because my wife asked me to order a parkrun band, and
Okay.
on their website, the colors, each color isn't labeled. There's bullets 1 to 6. The first one's labeled as apricot. The other 5 aren't labeled. So with Gemini Live, you can actually share your screen. So I was able to share the screen.
Oh, yes.
And go back to the website and then ask, which one is the blue one, because I think my son wouldn't want the apricot one. So,
Yeah.
So I went through the colors and it listed them 1 to 6 what they are. So then I ticked the blue one and I said, "Is this the blue one ticked now?" She said, "Yes," and that was it. So I ended the
Wow.
yeah.
And was that on your phone, Barry?
That was on my iPhone. Yeah,
It's incredible.
So
It's amazing stuff.
Yeah, so it was really cool. So I mean, at first I was thinking, I'm gonna have to go and get a sighted person to look at this for me now. And I thought, actually, let me just see how the screen sharing thing on Gemini works. And yeah, it was amazing.
No more gambling on things.
Well, that's it. And what color you wanted, and so
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah,
so
it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise I have to wait an hour or so for my son to go home and let him choose the color. But now I was able to do it myself. So
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, and I was speaking to someone this morning actually about somebody sent him, it was a work thing actually, sent him a picture on WhatsApp of a building certificate or something, and without even him asking the phone anything, it started reading the information off of the certificate. So he got all the information, like automatically started reading, VoiceOver started reading on me. Yeah, it was very
Brilliant. Thanks a million for that, Barry. Good to hear from you. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Yeah, it really is interesting to see how AI is going. Now, I'm going to just keep an eye on our raised hands. So we have Anne Hamilton from Scotland. Nice to see Anne. Anne, I hope you should be able to unmute yourself. Hope the sun is shining in Glasgow. Hi, Anne.
Hi there. Yeah, the sun is shining between the showers.
Good.
Right. It was just a few quick observations. Just to say, when you are speaking to, I've been having interesting chats with Gemini. I have an Android phone that I'm playing with. I'm rubbish with it. But anyway, me and him have chats about how to make marzipan and how to accurately talk about Scottish crime writers. But I did ask, there was a description, and my sister said, apparently our Prime Minister is counted quite handsome. So I said to Gemini, describe our prime. I don't name him because I can't bear the man. And is he light complected? Is he considered handsome? And Gemini said, I can't give you that information. And whether it was psychosomatic, but I thought he was very disapproving. So remember to say, I am blind, and keep in mind that I am blind for your follow-up questions. So that's I'm a novice with AI. I'm an old-fashioned person. I always believe in doing stuff like you need to write it and think about it with your own head. When you get to my age, AI is very handy now because that brings me to the JAWS Companion or FS Companion. And I've been preparing some notes and things for my colleagues in my Residents Association. And I want to customize headings because the headings that used apparently, they look awful funny, say my sighted colleagues. Because if you want to do it, you need it. I need it to be accessible for me, but not look too particularly odd. So I want to customize, and I started faffing about, and then I went, oh, I know, I'll try the FS Companion, and lo and behold. And it was really good because I've got detailed information and instructions how to do this with keystrokes. Hurrah! So that's my homework for later on. However, the downside, it was really great. And I thought it would have taken me forever to do. But the not so good side is I thought I'm going to ask you about Braille displays because I'm a Braille advocate. And I can be a bit vociferous. So I thought I'm going to fault you. And I said, what are the keystrokes for Control and Alt? And I don't believe he got them right because he was giving me press chord 8 with dot 2 for control. No, it's actually chord 3 and chord 2 for, oh no, control is dot 3 and alt is dot 6.
It's dot
He was
6,
telling he was telling me 2 and 5. So I did do feedback. I thought, right. But I think I'm always worried about Braille users being at the I'll use a vernacular at the coos tail. We always seem to be at the last. So maybe they could spend a bit more attention to that. But if we give feedback, but
oh yeah, just keep pointing it out.
Yeah, and I think, and they do say, like a lot of those, and it's not just JAWS, some of the chat things have feedback on, but I think you're right, and in particular the FS Companion, I think they're still building that large data model or
Yes.
language model. But yeah, I have noticed a few things as well. You asked it a question about JAWS and didn't always get it right. So definitely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anne. Lovely to hear from you.
Right, thank you.
Thanks, Emil. Okay, I am going to go to Julia, and Julia's the last hand. If anyone else wants to have a quick question, you can raise your hand with Alt and Y. Julia, you should be able to unmute yourself. Hi, Julia.
Yes, good afternoon. Yes, there's one or two things about Copilot. I tried it a while back. I used the Chrome as my web browser, and it wanted me to use Edge. So I'm not sure whether that is right or whether I should continue using Chrome. Also, I'd read about Gemini, and I'm wondering what the difference might be, or whether Gemini it would be better than Copilot. So that's my questions.
So as for Copilot, you can use it on the web. I didn't think they shouldn't sort of make you, they're probably trying to push you towards Edge, of course, because it's a Microsoft AI and a Microsoft browser, but you would think Edge and Chrome are virtually identical. You think it shouldn't matter. You can use Copilot on the web. You might have a better result, Julia, if you get the app from I think you can get it from the Microsoft Store, or it should actually just be installed.
This is on my computer.
Yeah, you should be able to get it off the Microsoft Store. So if you go to the search menu and type Store, and it'll bring you into the store, and then you can go into this. There's a search box in there. You could type Copilot.
Right, so you can do that on the computer as well. I wasn't sure whether the web, the store, was just for the iPhone.
No, there's a separate Windows Store, and you can get the app in there, so you can definitely do it from the computer.
All right.
I don't know, and I don't know anything about Gemini on Windows. I'm afraid I only ever use it on the iPhone, and actually, it's not something I use a whole lot. I'm always moving between Gemini and Copilot. But if anyone else here who knows a bit more about Gemini wants to answer that, be very welcome to do so. Thanks, Julia.
Okay.
Thanks a million.
Thanks. Yeah, I've only used Gemini just in just like a search on Chrome.
Yeah.
It keeps popping up, although I think it's only on my work computer that I can get that now. It's not on my personal computer anymore. And someone's actually mentioned in chat, Sai said,
oh yes, yeah.
that is Gemini video streaming available on free version?
Yes, it is. I've got the free version, and it only came out yesterday. I think it came out over the weekend. I only got it yesterday. I think it's being rolled out over the last few days, but there was an app update to Gemini, and I got this, and the minute you open the app, it says, would you like to use screen sharing and live video? And I said, this is really interesting. So yeah, you'll definitely be able to get it.
Yeah, and Sai also said, did we meet Sai at Glasgow?
Oh, we did. I don't know if Sai wants us to know, but Sai is the reason for this session. Sai put the idea in my head. So
brilliant. And she mentions, can you use PictureSmart on Excel? Oh yes. Well,
yes.
Yeah, and
Now you
that's the
can,
thing
but
with Excel, isn't it? Yeah, Excel is just a load of information.
it's just worth saying that yes, you can use Picture Smart in Excel. I have found it to be, you see, the only issue with Picture Smart in Excel is it can only tell you what it sees on the screen. So it will only see
Yeah,
the area of the
right.
sheet that's in focus. If you have
Yes,
something with
of
multiple
course.
sheets, it's much better to upload them to Copilot or something
Mhm.
else if you want, you know, an analysis of a whole spreadsheet.
And actually, I was reading up a bit about using Copilot with Excel, and I think it said that it recommends that Excel be in tables, if that means anything to people. So the information that you have in the Excel sheet, rather than just being raw data, if you actually convert it to a table, I think it would make a bit more sense to the
Okay.
AI model. And actually, Sai has a hand up there, so you might
Oh, I almost missed that
to
because
bring
I had
her
my
into this.
Zoom alerts off. Sorry, Sai. You should be able to unmute yourself. And if anyone didn't like this session, blame Sai because she's responsible for it happening. Hi, Sai.
I don't even remember that. Hello. I
Well,
honestly don't remember that. I wasn't even like thinking it was me when you gave me a wee shout out. Sorry, my wee quick question is that I was just given an Excel document to look at, and I was told that there's a picture in the Excel document, and I
mhm.
went around looking at the whole thing with merged cells, which are an honest nightmare for all JAWS users. I hope everyone would agree here. If not,
Mhm.
I'm coming to you for lessons. So, um, but I could not even find an image. So I wonder if, Picture Smart could be
There is a way
applied.
of doing that in Excel. There's a way of I can't remember off the top of my head now. There's a way of moving to an object.
Oh, okay.
Or you might even be able to, like, okay, off the top of my head, you might even be able to do virtual cursor and do G for graphic,
I
possibly.
was just going to say that JAWS keep it
Mm,
Z and go to
Mhm.
press G for graphic.
maybe. But yeah, there is a keystroke. It's like Control Shift O or something like that. I can't remember. But you can get a list of objects in the spreadsheet and move to an object, and that then it'd be in focus, and then you could do your Picture Smart control keystroke.
Is there a way of making that more accessible or as a recommendation?
Of making which more accessible?
Yeah, sorry, if they were to put a picture in Excel, is there a way to recommend them to make it more accessible or to at least recognize
Well,
that picture?
I suppose they could all tag it for you.
Yeah, yeah, all right,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, they could. Yes, they could put a description on it, definitely. And the like you're saying, the content provider, kind of thing,
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
creator, sorry, the creator of the spreadsheet, yeah,
Thank you
I
could
so
do that.
much.
Mm,
I think it's all text definitely, and again, this goes back to what we said earlier that AI it's not this silver bullet, maybe, you know, that's going to make everything accessible.
hmm
But Sai, thanks for your question and thanks
Yeah.
for planting the idea for us. We appreciate it. Okay, I'm just going to go, just before I go to another raised hand, I just want to acknowledge we got an email earlier today from Sheila, and
hmm
Sharon and I were chatting about it before we came on, and Sheila was just making the point, you know, the challenge, I suppose, around AI services being used in corporate environments and the fact that, you know, some people can't use them because the service is shut off. So, you know, some corporate environments, for example, might use Copilot, but they won't use
hmm
ChatGPT. And in that instance, you wouldn't be able to use Picture Smart because those
hmm
services are blocked. And I think, you know, the point was probably around that the AI, I suppose everyone needs to become comfortable with AI and the corporate world becoming comfortable with what AI can do and how this is really beneficial for users of assistive technology as well. So I think
hmm
it's a process that we all have to go through. Okay. there's two more hands raised, so we'll do these two and then we'll have to call it a day. So if anyone else had wanted to get in and you need some you want to make any comments afterwards, do send us an email. So I'm going to go to Mike Wald and then we'll go to Natalie. So Mike, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. Actually,
How you doing?
I put it in the chat, but nobody responded. So there were two things. One was, I mean, have you had any success trying to get any of these systems to sensibly and correctly explain a chart or a graph? Because they're very bad at it.
Not really. I know some, but I didn't do this. I know I saw somebody talking about this with Picture Smart before. And again, using that Alt key and asking it questions before they start it. So rather than hearing the lengthy description of the chart, having a sense of what you need from it and then asking those questions. But it's not something I've done.
Yeah, because the problem is it gives you incorrect information most of the time. And that goes to my other question is, do you think there's a danger that people will stop checking the answers and 100% trust it? And there could be some
absolutely.
serious risks, particularly
Yes.
about people walking around and getting answers about if the environment, you know, there's a car coming. I mean, it worries me that this will happen.
Well, yeah. And I mean, we all know that AI can hallucinate, as we said earlier, and it doesn't always get things right. And then if you query it, it immediately sort of, you know, almost like backs down. Oh, yes, I apologize. And then gives you a completely different answer. Yeah, I think as society I suppose, yeah, you'd hope that the amount of times it get things wrong will decrease. But I think you're right. I think we'll become more and more reliant on it. Definitely. Thanks for your question, Mike. Appreciate that. And I'm just going to, last one, we're going to go to Natalie Curran. So Natalie, hopefully you can unmute yourself and we'd love to hear your question.
Hi,
Natalie.
can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, to be fair, mine's not a question, more hopefully a helpful point to the last 2 points, which was in Excel, I think the shortcut is F5 to navigate between objects. And to the last point, I think it's F5. Don't shoot me if I'm wrong, but I think it's F5. But also speaking of Excel and describing charts and it does only work in Excel. If somebody creates a chart in Excel and then copies it over, it doesn't work. But I've actually found that, I don't know where in the chain it is, I think it's Microsoft themselves. You can now interrogate the data within the chart yourself. So I did it, I created an Excel table of survey results, and I was creating charts for visual presentation to help my colleagues see it. And actually found to my surprise that when I moved focus to it, I could arrow around. And as I arrowed like along the way, it read out the different categories and the different numbers and stuff. So, and that wasn't that was before the AI.
That was without
stuff.
AI. Yeah.
Yeah, that was before AI kicked off in earnest. So I just thought I'd mention it in case that was useful to anyone.
Thank you, Natalie. No, really appreciate that. And that's a great it's a great tip, but it's also a great example of these webinars and how people share information and help each other out. So thank you, everyone. I mean, it's been a really interesting hour talking about AI. I hope you have all found this to be useful. We put it together at relatively short notice, but I do want to thank Sai because I think it was a great idea. And we love when our audience suggest ideas. So please, if there's any other topics you think we should tackle, whether it's things we can do or not, we have lots of friends we can ask to help us. Please do get in touch with us. Sharon, thank you as always for managing our chat and looking after everything so well. So we appreciate that.
No problem. There were a few questions that came in right at the end there that we didn't quite get to, so apologies for that.
Yeah, if you didn't get your question answered and you do need some help, please do send us an email because we'd be happy to do that. And finally, before we go, we are taking a break in July. So there's no webinar Wednesday in July, but we will be back later in the summer. Look forward to seeing everyone then. So thanks a million, everybody, and we'll talk to you all soon.